everyone! So in my last video we talked about nouns and we broke down those nouns into different subcategories. We're going to be doing the same thing today, but with our new part of speech that we're going to be going into in class. That part of speech is going to be the substitute for nouns. So today's topic of the day is going to be pronouns. Our first question that we do need to ask is, what is a pronoun? And I've already kind of said that it's a substitute for a noun, and that's really all you need to know. But if you look at the word pronoun, it kind of gives it away. So if you break that down, we have pro and noun if you divide it into its syllables. Pro means for, and then we have noun. So pronoun means for noun, as in a substitute for a noun. What you probably didn't know is that there are 8 subcategories of pronouns that we need to go over today. And those types of pronouns are going to be personal pronouns, possessive pronouns, demonstrative pronouns, interrogative pronouns, indefinite pronouns, relative pronouns, reflective pronouns, and intensive pronouns. Alright, so number 1, we're going to talk about personal pronouns. These are the ones that you're typically introduced to when you first learn what a pronoun is. These are the gendered and neutral terms to identify a proper noun. So these are words like I, he, she, and it. One of the interesting things in the English language is that we're a pretty neutral language when it comes to gender. If you learn Spanish or Italian, you're going to notice that there are certain types of words that are going to be feminine or masculine. And I'm not going to go really deep into that topic, but I just want you to recognize that for pronouns in the English language, that's really the only part of speech that will recognize feminine or masculine words, or something that is gendered to a certain person, like he being masculine and she being feminine. And I just thought that was interesting and I wanted to include that. There is one more thing I wanted to discuss with gender, having to do with assigning a gender when we use pronouns, because again, it's the only part of pronouns where we use gender. And a lot of times if we see something that is a female, we'll say her. If we see someone who is male, we will refer to him as him. And then if we see an object, we'll refer to it as a neuter pronoun, which is it. But when we see an item, or if we give it some kind of gender, typically you will start to reflect that in your speaking. And just as an example, you guys have seen him before. This is Schnoz. Alright, so this is just a toy. So it doesn't have a gender, it's just an it. But because I named it Schnoz and I look at it as a male name, when I'm referring to this stuffed animal, I now say him rather than it. So it's just interesting how pronouns can reflect how we look at things and how we communicate that with others. Alright, so number 2, we're going to talk about possessive pronouns. These show possession. These are pronouns like his, hers, mine, and ours. Demonstrative pronouns means to indicate or identify another noun. So these are the demonstrative words that we've talked about, like this, that, these, or those. As an example, you could say, this is my cat. That is my book. These are my toys, or those are my friends. The demonstrative pronoun must substitute for a noun in order for that to be classified as a pronoun. A pronoun must substitute a noun in its place. We also need to talk about interrogative pronouns. Now, you might be familiar with interrogative writing, and this is where we are asking a question. So those pronouns, when we talk about interrogative pronouns, are going to ask questions such as who, what, which, where, and how. These pronouns are typically going to be at the beginning of a sentence because it's going to be transitioning into a question. I need you guys to pause your video for a second and explain 2 questions for me, okay? Question number 1, what is a pronoun? Question number 2, what are the differences between personal, possessive, demonstrative, and interrogative pronouns? Answer with 4 sentences, and I want you to model your answer like this. The next pronoun that we need to discuss are indefinite pronouns. This means not definite, as in it does not refer to a specific person, place, thing, or amount, okay? These are pronouns like all, another, any, anything, and everyone. A big hint for this is that most of them are going to begin with the letter A, but that doesn't mean that they're just all words that begin with the letter A, but the majority of them will start with the letter A. The next pronoun that we need to discuss are relative pronouns. Relative pronouns relate or make a connection between a clause or phrase to a noun or pronoun. These are examples of words like who, whom, which, whoever, whomever, whichever, and that. You will notice that most of these words that will be relative pronouns do begin with the letter W. But again, that doesn't mean all of them will. We still have the word that, okay? Most of them are going to still start with a W, so that's a big hint for you. We also have to discuss reflexive pronouns, okay? These are the words that are going to end in self, and what they do is that they reflect back on the speaker. Examples of this include herself, yourself, and itself. Here is an example of a sentence using a reflexive pronoun. You could say, you can make yourself at home. You is the subject. Yourself is that reflexive pronoun that's reflecting back on the subject, you. The last one that we're going to discuss today are intensive pronouns. These make the sentence more intense by providing an emphasis or repeating a pronoun directly after the subject. And something interesting is that people don't normally use intensive pronouns anymore. It's just kind of gone out of style, and there are different ways to show that emphasis. So this isn't homework, but you should definitely try to do an intensive pronoun in your speaking, because it'd be cool to bring it back, and it's just not that popular anymore. But what I mean by an intensive pronoun is that it's repeating, so to show that emphasis. An example of that would be like saying the Queen herself showed up at the Olympics, like almost in disbelief that something is happening. You could say the Queen went to the Olympics, but if you add herself, it adds that emphasis. It makes it sound more important. The last question you have for today is, what are the differences between indefinite, relative, reflexive, and intensive pronouns? You do need to model this question after question number 2 in a similar format. That's all I have for today. Make sure you write down those questions. Make sure you write down those answers. I will be checking them when you come into class. I want us to be concentrating on how to differentiate those subcategories into different types of pronouns. And I will see you guys again soon. And don't be afraid to learn. Bye guys. This is Schnoz. Alright, so this is just a toy.